Hello and welcome everyone. My name is Naiba Flory and I am so grateful to be here with you all as part of the Million Mom Movement Council with some really incredible council members that are here with us today. And so part of our council is Sherry Packard, Ashley Morales, Dominique Jeffries, and our newest council member is Grace C. And she is going to be our host today, sharing about this incredible topic of holistic fertility and intentional conception. And I'll introduce her a little bit more in a few minutes. But first, I would love to see if anybody would like to volunteer to read our pledge today. So go ahead and just raise your hand. You can go ahead in the chat and raise your hand. And I would love to have you read the pledge for us. Oh, I see Janelle would like to read the pledge. So thanks, Janelle, for raising your hand. Let me pull that up for you. Give me 1 second. All right. Thank you so much for being here with us today, Janelle.
Thank you, and it's wonderful to be here. Okay, pledge. I pledge to defend the health of myself and my family. I pledge to choose organic foods that are minimally processed and free of man-made ingredients. I pledge to read labels and educate myself on all aspects of clean living. I understand that my actions today will positively impact the health and environment of future generations. I am committed to sharing this movement of many. I am the Million Mom Movement.
Thank you so much for reading that. And I'd love to know what this movement means to you, if you'd be willing to share with us.
Yes, absolutely. Um, just with everything with Purium, the Purium products, um, the health sharing, the giving, the knowledge to be able to give to everybody else, to replenish ourselves, to replenish our bodies, our healing, our mental state. I mean, everything comes with Purium. It's just amazing. This community is amazing. The Million Mom movement, especially for us women, we tend to go through, our hormones and in every aspect. And yeah, there's so much more that I can't articulate, but yeah.
Thank you so much, Janelle. We're so grateful to have you as part of our community, and we're grateful to have each and every one of you here as part of the Million Mom Movement community as we spread this mission farther and wider every day. So thank you so much for being here. Today is January 3rd, and my name is Naiba Flory. I'm so grateful to have been part of this council for many years now. I actually started as a postpartum mom myself and have been able to help so many women through conceiving a child, and many of them were actually having trouble with fertility. And this program has really helped to support them and support their nutrition and help them on their path to becoming mothers and becoming parents. So I'm super excited to introduce you to a special council member today who is really well versed in this area. And today we're going to be talking about the holistic fertility and intentional conception with Grace Murdoch, who has been dedicating her entire adult life to the healing arts. She holds a certificate in holistic midwifery and is also a co-author of a book called Bird's Eye View of Birth Work and creator of Intentional Conception Method. So I'm so excited for her to come and share more about this with you all, as it's really a part of her passion. And so without further ado, Grace, I'd love to pass it over to you. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Oh, thank you so much. Number one, I just want to say how excited I am and honored to be a part of the council. It's a really big deal to me. And my Purium story started postpartum as well. I was 2 years postpartum and in a deep postpartum funk, and had hypothyroidism, and had seen a dear friend of mine totally turn her life around, and reached out to her. And, that might be a story for another time. But this topic, holistic fertility and intentional conception, is something that is so near and dear to me. If you were a person who knew me in my 20s or 30s, my whole storyline was I wanted to be a mom. I literally felt the presence of what seemed like my future child around me all the time. And especially when I reached my 30s and so many of my friends were becoming parents, it was really weird to me that I was like, wow, this is so strange. I want this so much. And so many people around me are conceiving. There wasn't anything wrong necessarily. My life just wasn't taking me in that direction. But I was kind of fanatical about it. In fact, the woman who turned me on to Purium, she just knows me as that person who wanted to be a mom so much. So, and I think that that's part of the reason that I ended up pursuing birth work. As Diana said, I have been in the holistic arts my entire adult life. I hold 3 certifications as doula, and of course now as a midwife. And I eventually, at the age of 40, for my midwifery senior project, I created a coaching program that I called the Intentional Conception Method. I self-applied the program, and 1 month to the date after presenting it to my midwifery class, I conceived my daughter, who is now 11. But here's what I want to say. If you're on the Zoom now, or if you're listening later, this is a topic that can be so just so intimate and so personal. For some of us, it's like, yeah, we decide that we want to have a child and we start that process and we become parents. And for other people, it isn't that way. And it wasn't that way for me. And I remember really the deep desperation at one point that was like, wow, I'm 40. I'm 40. I'm either going to make this happen, or I need to let go and understand that maybe, God's plan for me is another way. And so that's when I created the Intentional Conception Coaching Program. And so I love the aspect of holistic fertility because, as we know, one of the questions that I ask my clients in intentional conception is like, where do babies come from? I mean, we know about the birds and the bees, but if you really think about it, like, where do babies come from? There isn't a baby, and then there is, right? And there's this like miracle realm in between that is, it has to do with every aspect of our being. And that's what I want to talk about today in regard to holistic fertility. So we're going to touch on 5 pillars, and we're going to talk about spiritual, mental, emotional, social, and physical. But before we do, one of the things I really want to address is like the current landscape of fertility. Oftentimes when we have issues or we want to have a child and fertility isn't happening for one reason or another, we often really feel that that is a woman's, there's something that the woman needs to address. But actually, a third of fertility problems, I'm trying to like watch my languaging, like issues or problems, just it is women and men. All right. So I have some little note cards here, and I'm just giving myself permission to use them. In regard to male infertility, one of the things that is really good to understand is, and kind of frightening, honestly, since 1973, the sperm count in men has gone down 50 to 60%. Right. So we just basically halved the ability, for men to be a part of this conception process. All right. And in women, it's often polycystic ovarian syndrome, endometriosis. And another thing that's happening is that families are waiting until later to start that process of conceiving. And as women age, their eggs become less and sometimes less fertile. So after 35, they say, and so just I want to remind you that I conceived at 41 and had my daughter at 42. But in general, there's a storyline and perhaps a truth that after 35, it can be a lot harder for a woman to conceive. So The other third of that is oftentimes just unexplained conditions. It's a combination of both, and it's just unexplained, and maybe it just isn't meant to be. But I say this because it's really important if you're in, traditional husband-wife situation that both people are preparing their bodies, minds, spirits for this process of conception. So let's talk about the spiritual component of conceiving. And I would just love to hear in the comments, if you are open to sharing, if you were to look through the lens of spirituality. And for me, spirituality, it could mean God, it could mean religion, but for me, it really taps into, how do we create a child? It's creation energy. And for me, spirituality is just really tapping in to the energy of creation. So if you're thinking about the spiritual approach to holistic fertility, what are some things that come to mind to you in regard to how you might address or approach conception from a spiritual perspective? And I'm wondering if anyone is willing to drop something in the comments. I have some ideas and I have some notes, but I would love this to be participatory. I'll just kind of start since I don't see anything happening in the comments. So one of the things that I have helped my clients with in the aspect of spirituality is, as I said, getting in touch with the things that bring us closer to that creation energy. And so Dominique is saying self-love practices, absolutely. And then Amy says, when an egg becomes fertilized, it pulses with light. That's exactly it. She says, that's truly spiritual to me. Children are a gift from God. Creation of the mind. These are all wonderful and exactly along the lines that I'm feeling as well. So for me, prayer really is another aspect of intention. It's really speaking to to the powers that be and using the frequency and the sound of our voice to put it out into the world, like what it is that we are wanting. And I also feel like prayer is kind of our heart's longing made known, right? Writing intentions, having affirmations. One of the things that I did is I kept a journal to the soul of my unborn child. I wrote to her every single day. I wrote about what I felt like I had taken care of. And, these are the things that I don't know about how you're going to come through. I want you to take care of this because you're closer to the source. So I really built a relationship with her. I also spent a lot of time in nature. For me, that's something that's very spiritual, is getting out into nature, observing how does nature create? What does it look like to be in the heart of creation? And then also meditation. So those are some of the ways that I approached it from a spiritual perspective. And then there's social. I think sometimes we don't often think about this, but one of the things that we are hardwired for is connection. We thrive. I mean, not everybody. Yeah, sure, there's, some people really like more time alone, but in general, humans are wired to be connected. And it's so important when we're on the journey of conceiving or becoming parents that we really understand and build up our support system, right? Community is so important. And if any of you have ever, already been on this journey and you are already a parent, you know that it's not just in the conception time, the pregnancy time, the birth time, and especially after. You really want to get those community parts in place. And then also communication with your partner. This is another social aspect. How do we keep communication open? When we birth a child, when a woman births a child, she's actually birthing a whole family into being. And so we want every aspect of this family to have the support system that they need. So social is a really key and important part of preparing ourselves. And so on this next one, I would love a little bit of interaction also. how do you imagine that you could nourish yourself mentally and prepare yourself mentally for the process of becoming a family, becoming a parent, conceiving a child? I love some people to throw it into the comments. I'm going to have a little power shake here. I'll start it off by saying that it is really important to know and address our fears and our stress. Yep. So I see breath work, self-development, creating a safe space. Exactly. I have really found through my own process and through working with other women and couples that the mental aspect is super important. I would say also being really mindful of your media intake. This is actually a place where nutrition and especially superfoods can really, really be effective. I will say when I started imbibing Purium and superfoods and paying attention to my nutrition, not only what I was taking in, but what I was choosing to not take in, my whole mental landscape changed for the better. All right. So, our gut health affects our mental well-being. Um, so addressing fear and stress, maybe that's journaling, having a therapist, having someone that we can talk to, really being mindful of our nutrition, noticing what we're intaking, whether it's the people that we're choosing to be around, the media that we're watching, the music that we're listening to, really paying attention to the thoughts that we let in to our awareness. And doing grief work. Thank you, Amy. That's such a good one. Emotional and mental. So the next one, number 4, is the emotional aspect of conception. And I think emotional and mental can really touch on each other. Some of the notes that I had are stress management. What do you, when you, whether you're trying to conceive or not, are in a space of wanting to shift your emotional landscape, or how you're interacting with the world emotionally, what are some of the things that you um, pay attention to? So Dominique is saying healthy boundaries. Thank you. So important in the journey of becoming a parent, because when you get pregnant, everybody has an opinion. And when you become a parent, everybody's ready to tell you exactly how you need to start parenting. So healthy boundaries are really important. Yep, everybody's saying boundaries, walks, time, creation in home, limiting or eliminating caffeine and alcohol. Exactly. These are all really wonderful aspects. I had stress management, staying active. It's really important for me. I am really in my body. So if I'm noticing something, I'm stuck emotionally, one of my go-tos is certainly getting a power shake into my body, getting, just some really good nutrients, and moving, getting out in nature, taking a walk, turning on some music, dancing, leaning into trusted allies. I think it's really, really important to have your people when you're on this journey. And for me, I love that boundaries has come up so much, because I literally, I kind of laid it out for the people in my life. This is what I'm trying to do. This is what I can allow in my space. This is what I can't allow in my space. I was in my 40s when I finally conceived, and I was in the realm of birth work. And I think it was being in attending births, seeing so many children born, and knowing how much I wanted to have a child and having that not happen. I really had to be so mindful of what I was taking in. I also knew what the statistics were in the mainstream. And if I were to have listened solely to the statistics, I would not have allowed myself to conceive. So it's really important when we know, I felt the presence of this being so strongly. I knew without a doubt that I was supposed to be a mother. And so I had to hang on to that and not let anything else in. And, that all really affects our emotional landscape. I'm loving the comments. I'm loving that everybody is involved here. Thank you so much. All right, and then the piece I want to get into now, and this is where I feel like superfoods and nutrition is really an important aspect, is the physical landscape, right? The physical aspect of conception. What are the things that we're going to do to prepare ourselves physically? So again, it's exercise. It's funny how they all kind of link into each other. Exercise, breath work, nutrition, really keeping ourselves on top of, if we talk about the body being a temple, and this is where we're going to, our child is going to grow, we want to have the optimal state and the optimal environment. What are some of the things that come to mind for you when you think about physical preparation to conceive? And in a moment, we're going to go into some specifics regarding period. Yes, detox, exactly, right? It's highly recommended to do the ULT, the Ultimate Lifestyle Transformation, for 60 to 90 days so that you're hyper nourishing your body and detoxing, and to also add the parasite cleanse aspect, right, to get yourself ready. The biomedic, obviously, for gut health. Okay, I'm actually going to pull up my notes on this part because I had some really specific notes. And then I would love to hear from Anna Marie on this because she literally lived this. All right, let me just pull this up real quick. Thanks for your patience. All right. So in regard to Purium, and we have a blog about this, and we're going to make sure when we do the replay that you have access to that blog. All right, so the ULT, 60 to 90 days, right? And then adding in the parasite cleanse, which is the super cleanser, right? That's going to, and then you want to do a second packet, right? You want to do your initial parasite cleanse, and then within 20 days, you want to do the super cleanser again, right? So that you're making sure that you are addressing the eggs. Chlorella and fulvic zeolite, right? That's going to help to detoxify heavy metals such as lead, mercury. It also contains CGF, which is chlorella growth factor, which regulates cell growth and it prevents mutations, right? The fulvic acid and the zeolite, they bind to heavy metals and they help remove them from the body, okay? And then for men, the super life, right? So super life is going to support your sperm quality and your sperm count. And then for women, the white American ginseng, that helps to balance hormones. It enhances fertility. And then one of the things I remember hearing Dave talk about so long ago when when I first heard him talk about Purium as a preparation, and it's something that I hadn't thought about, but our tropical oil, the coconut oil, that actually helps. Like you can use it when you're in the process of trying to conceive because it helps with the mucous membrane. It makes everything more malleable and receptive. And you can use it as a lubricant. I was like, oh, that's kind of genius, just these simple things that we can do. And then, of course, sleep, right? Sleep is a really important aspect that touches into all of these. And of course, the apothecary is excellent for helping us to sleep. And then, getting exercise, all of these things. So we've touched into kind of the 5 aspects of holistic fertility as I see it. And we did talk about having our emphasis be, of course, on superfood nutrition. So I would like to bring a very special guest, Anna Marie Sandoval, who is the mama of 2 vibrant daughters, She's wife to Dave Sandoval. She's president of the Awaken Project Foundation, and she is devoted to the mission of healing for families and the rising knowledge of women's superpowers in birth. Yes, changing the world through the way we support birth. So I'd love to hand it over to you, Anna Marie, to hear your story and how you prepared, because I know that you're really close to the source and you really live this. So thank you.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor, Grace. I really appreciate you inviting me on this call, and I really appreciate you leading this call. Dave and I both feel that one of the greatest ways that we could change our world is through, conscious conception and conscious parenting and conscious birth, obviously. So this is a really important subject to our hearts, and I'm really grateful to get to speak on it. And I love the way you brought into how everything about it is really a holistic component, because everything really ties in together. And for me, a lot of it is definitely preparing in the physical, and as well as you were saying, preparing in the mental, emotional is and spiritual is such a big factor. And so one of the things you mentioned, getting prepared in the spiritual and mental emotional, our first step was definitely, tapping into our prayers and speaking to creator of our wishes and desires for our family. That was our definite first step. And really laying those prayers down consciously in quite a few different ways, that we, reach to our great creator. And so that was our first step. And detoxing and getting our bodies ready, physically, as in, getting parasites and things like that. But another really big factor that I like to bring into play is doing a lot of womb health work, is one of the key factors of consciously bringing our sweet soleil into this world. And it may stand out to some and may not, that there is an obvious 5-year age difference between Dave and I's daughters that we have together. We really consciously did that because we really wanted to, give each being that we had, the one that was already earthside and the one that we wanted to bring earthside, our full selves and our full capacity and our full health and wealth. And so personally, and when I say wealth, the wealth of our physical being and of our spiritual being, and being fully aligned and attuned, and so that we can really give to our children instead of being on a little bit of max capacity and then still trying to give to a newborn. We were really aware that that could be send a lot of things into overdrive, and it wasn't really what we were going for. So, and not that doing it that way is wrong, just we felt really for our family with what was taking place. I was personally, where I'm going with this is I was personally dealing with a lot of grief. So that was brought up. So I had a lot of mental, emotional work that I was needing to take care of, which was, making sure that my mental health was really, really strong before bringing another being into the world. And so handling a lot of grief that I was going through and taking care of that, and doing a lot of womb work from different aspects of my life, and detoxing emotions and pieces and pasts of from my womb, and making sure that I was really sending a lot of love and care to my creation source of my physical body. And Purium really was a big key in that as well. The way that we can love ourselves is through nutrition and taking care of our womb in that way. There's a lot of different products that I was really utilizing to communicate to my womb and myself how I loved and how I was nourishing myself. And part of that was the commitment to putting superfoods in my body and giving affirmations to myself as I'm doing that. And we held some certain different retreats here at the Oasis, and not that those are specific. There's a lot of things that you can do at home that are just, self-love rituals for your womb that really can bring a lot of healing and create the space for creation there to begin. And so once I really did a lot of cleansing of my womb in that way, then there was also, like you had mentioned, the physical cleansing in the aspect of the ULT, and making sure that, trying to rid myself of any parasites. And I think, one of the really big factors is biomedic. I and Dave were really, really religious with biomedic. We still are, but it's a number one staple because that gut health is so critical. And so biomedic is our number one. And also, like you were mentioning, for the heavy metals, the fulvic zeolite and chlorella are really big aspects, because we're, intaking heavy metals in so many environmental ways. It's not just one thing going on that needs to be taken care of. We are flooded with a lot of different pieces and parts of our environment that are contributing to heavy metal infiltration in our bodies. And so the fulvic zeolite and chlorella are, in my opinion, extremely important. And so we were really big on that. Chlorella is really big in our family. We feed it to our dogs to give them longer lives. We feed it to our daughter. We feed it to cats. It's it's a big piece and part. Chlorella is such a gift, and obviously, definitely. I really was called to super meal and the dark berry protein. Both of those. Dark berry protein just says love to me. When I smell it, it smells really good. And so many different forms of my senses brings pleasure. And part of my self work was tapping more into pleasure to bring baby forth. And so I was really tapping into romanticizing even my superfoods. So my apothecary at night, we have it with sparkling water. Sometimes we warm it and put cinnamon in it. Just different ways, put it in a nice cup, different ways that I was kind of romanticizing my daily routines and bringing more self-love and pleasure into all these different areas that I could. And so the ULT really is the daily taking care of yourself, because you're doing that for 60, 90 days. It has your core 4, your biomedic, but yeah, adding in the fulvic zeolite and the chlorella. And for me, I was the dark berry protein. I just love the scent. I love the flavor. I'm really important to be building up our collagen block builders, because we really need to have strong bones when we are postpartum. Our calcium gets really leached out growing a baby and giving birth. So, and then postpartum, if you're breastfeeding. So to prepare your body with these products is really such a blessing. And we had a really exceptionally beautiful birth. And I believe it has to do with the way that conception was also brought forth. I also, in my preconcept, getting ready to conceive, I really enjoyed the super meal, because it feels like a deep source of nourishment. For me, I needed to build a fat source more. And so the super meal really helps not bring fat, but just brings more of a, in my opinion, deeper nourishment to my like core with all of the different adaptogens and the higher amount of protein. Upping the protein was really important for me because it takes protein to make a baby. And so it was really building my habits to be able to be intaking more higher protein each day, even though I wasn't actually pregnant. And Grace, would you like me to go into more of during pregnancy, or should we stay closer here to conception? I know that time is
Yeah,
ticking.
I think we're staying close to conception. We actually are going to do a whole next month. We're going to talk specifically about Purium for pregnancy. So yeah, but is there anything more that you want to say on that topic?
Yeah, well, I definitely relied so much upon the superfoods for my pregnancy. And obviously, once we found out that we were conceiving, you know, we stayed really pretty much in alignment to how we already were preconception. So I would say that, like, getting your mindset into eating really clean and in a detox, once you've detoxed, that's even just like keeping those habits from your detox is what's going to lead you into a healthier pregnancy. So it's part of the conception to make you really strong, not just physically, but those habits that you build in those 30 to 90 days of eating whole, eating organic, and feeling how powerful you are in your body, it will lead to a much more easeful pregnancy.
Thank you so much for that. And I want to say just my biggest heartfelt thank you. I generalized a little bit when I was sharing because I like to make the information really available to all people. And also, one of the biggest pieces in my whole intentional conception journey, I thought of this when you said, romanticizing your superfoods, and it's really about getting into that state, right? So what I did was I created vision boards. I wrote, as I said, I had a journal to my daughter. I would speak with her when I would go for walks. I would literally have conversations. And all of it was about, I surrounded myself with artwork that had to do with mother and child and family and partnership. So it's really about getting into state, right? Getting into a frequency that allows us to be receptive. So yes, healthy, yes, mentally acute and aware, but creating that whole energy of receptivity and of becoming, when we as women are carrying a child, we literally, our bodies are becoming the source. We are becoming God in a sense, And so I really love what you said about doing womb work and all of that. And it's a topic that is so near and dear and deep to my heart. And I actually got the download, and then we're going to have another council member speak, but I just want to say, one of the things that set me on my journey to committing so much time, energy, and attention to the world of birth was that I received the information that if we were to birth one generation of beings into loving, family-led,
Yes.
healthy birth
Yes.
environments, we will be living in an entirely different
Yes.
within one generation. All right, so this is so fundamentally important. And I'll just say this key piece too, is that what we experience in the womb and what we experience the first moments outside of the womb, we spend our whole life trying to recreate, right? And so if we can create trauma-free birth environments, loving birth environments, including the gestating environment, we are really doing such a service to the world. It's more than just preparing our bodies to be optimal. This is literally how we change the face of humanity. And so that's why it is such, so important. And I really felt you touching on that, Anna Marie, and I thank you and Dave for holding that vision and birthing your children into it. I did deliver my own daughter at home, my partner and I. So it was, that was a really important part of the whole process. So yes, yay, I'm so excited. I just really feel this good energy that we're creating. And I want to say that, I wish that I had had Purium before I conceived. I found Purium in my postpartum time. And it was such an important buoy for me. And I actually wanted to just quickly ask you, Ashley, if you would speak into it. And really what I want to convey, we are going to go into pregnancy next month, but Purium is something that is going to support nutrition, proper nutrition, clean nutrition that we get, like we get here at Purium, is something that just serves us, especially as mothers and parents, needing to be the source for so many. And so, Ashley, I know you have a really powerful story of your postpartum time, and I would love to hand it over to you and hear what you have to say and share about that.
Thank you so much, Grace. And I loved everything that has been shared so far. I will speak very briefly on the postpartum side, since we're going to go into that on a separate call. What I can speak to actually is on the raising a vibration of taking in the nutrients to get you to a place where you are actually aware of your surroundings and being ready to make some shifts mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. It's like coming out of the darkness of the fog of all of the processed foods that were in our system. When you do that, you can be able to, you're in a place where your mind is ready to start processing everything you've been holding on to. I feel it's very, very important when we are about to jump into, as a grief counselor, that's when you mentioned grief work and making that a part of the preparation of the womb. That is something that is so important, but sometimes we're not ready to jump into our grief if we haven't prepped our minds and bodies and vibration and been able to raise to that level to be in a place where we're strong enough to be able to process everything. So that was something that I felt very strongly as my postpartum journey. That's when I began Purium, and I didn't know how I was going to move forward through the anxiety, the crippling depression, and I also had postpartum depression on top of my existing complex PTSD and extreme dissociative disorder. So my postpartum journey was very dark. And then these foods came in, and it's like it lightened everything up so that I could see the mess that was in my brain that I wanted to clear out, that I was happy to clear out at that time. I didn't know was even there. So it was something that I highly recommend now for anyone going into that process of beginning conception. Take care of yourself first so that you can see everything that needs to be taken out of your system so that you can, I wish I would have been able to have that process beforehand, to have the clarity of mind to know what I was bringing my children into. So now it's a healing process. I'm so glad and grateful I've been able to do this now, so that I'm not doing this later when my children are grown, but they're getting to benefit from having a whole mama now. And so that is something I can definitely speak to, because doing it later, it's a lot of work. It's a lot to do, to process while you've got toddlers running around. So to take this moment to work on yourself and your partner and to know what you're going into together, that is a beautiful, beautiful gift that if you have it, take advantage of it. So that, I believe, was all I wanted to share. I think I'm complete.
Beautiful, Ashley. Thank you so much. Yeah, I too found Purium postpartum, and it is such a, I literally thought that I would be kind of immune to the postpartum time because I had supported so many families through just counseling and stuff postpartum. And that is one thing I can say, prepare yourselves as much as possible, because it's it's a hard, trying time, not just for the mother, but for both partners. So I'm so glad that you found these superfoods. They literally saved my life. I'm so grateful that my daughter has been able to grow up not only imbibing the superfoods, but in this community and in this culture. And I just want to give a little shout out, because one of the first births that I attended was Audia Bay, who is on this call right now. So I just want to say, I see you, girl. And I love that you're here. And she's now a Purium brand partner. So how cool is that? All right. Well, I want to say thank you all so much for, just for being here and being excited about this. I'm going to turn it back over to you, Neva. And thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much. What an incredible presentation and such great, amazing golden nuggets. I loved all the interaction in the chat as well, with the whole community really chiming in and sharing your own inspiration and tips and tricks around this subject. And I just really am so grateful for this solution, because I've literally been able to help so many moms that had, literally tried everything that they knew was possible and just really wanted to have a baby, and this was like the last result, and it worked, right? Sometimes that last thing works, and Grace putting her hands up. So, sometimes you've tried everything except for giving your body the right nutrients and detoxing the stuff that is prohibiting you from conceiving a baby. And so I'm so grateful for all the tips and tricks shared here today. And I wanted to see if Dominique, if you want to share anything on your journey, as you still haven't become a mother, but I know you've been using these products for a long time, and I'd love to hear from you another perspective of how you feel like this is supporting you in your journey to eventually becoming a mother.
Yeah, thank you so much for letting me share. And Grace, I had goosebumps the whole call. Like, this is beautiful. And everybody on the call, please share this with everyone that you know, because I love that you touched on it from a holistic, space. And also just want to acknowledge all the moms that are on here. I know I'm not a mom yet, but even though I know everyone was saying that they wish they had this before they started, their journey into motherhood. And the blessing is that because you're doing it now, your daughter, your children are on this journey with you, and you're already planting that seed for the future lineage. So don't, I know you're not holding on to how you wish you had this before, but just really stand in your power that you have it now, and that it's changing the future of your family. So just from my perspective, not, being a mother just yet, but I took so many notes, and I just want to touch on a few of the pillars. But number one, the community. Having support. This community alone has supported me and just opened my eyes up to so many things I did not know about when it comes to conception and, just taking care of ourselves as women. Initially when I joined this community, especially with Purium, it was for me to transform my physical health and also my financial health, which I want to really touch on, because that's a big part of one of my pillars for creating my family. But I just looked at it from a physical standpoint of detoxifying my body and feeling better, having more energy. And now, since I've been on this journey, I really recognize how we can start with the physical, but it might open us up to the mental, to the spiritual. And a big part of creation, we have all these dreams, especially at the beginning of the year. We want all these things for ourselves and for our family, but what are we willing to let go of? Right? Like, I love how Anne Marie mentioned detoxifying her womb space and letting go of that those emotions that she may have been holding on to. And it's not easy to do, to let go when you don't have the nourishment or the support from your community or from the foods that you're eating. So the transformation alone, but also this Purium community has supported me in allowing myself to release emotions that can't really hold space for me, especially when that time comes to conceiving. And then another one that you touched on that was really huge for me was the personal development. I didn't realize how my boundaries were not really strong before I started, this transformation, especially this business opportunity. So that's allowed me to strengthen my voice and communicate clearly what it is that I want for myself and that I need, and creating those healthy boundaries around the people around me that can support me. And I know that when that time comes of creating a family, that I'm going to need to really speak up for myself, because I would want them to do the same. And then lastly, just the financial piece is a big pillar for me, because now that I am in this community, I'm building this Purium business and transforming my health. I always had this vision of wanting to really be present with my children when I do conceive. And I love that this opportunity provides leverage for us to lean into community, and also just creates the freedom that we want. So I just wanted to touch on that too, for any mom that's on here, whether I know, because Grace, you mentioned that most women wait till later on in their lives to have children, and it's probably because financial reasons. They want to have their businesses set up and be, secured. But this opportunity allows us to build while we're doing other things and create that freedom for the future. But so many things to touch on. I'm just grateful that I'm a part of this community. I can soak in all this knowledge, and that I will also have all of you for the support when that time comes for me and my family. And I just can't wait for more families to hear stories like this and be a part of this community, because we are transforming the world forever. So thank you, Naiva, for letting me share.
Absolutely. I love your passion, and it's so true. And I love you're actually hosting the call next Friday. And so would you love to touch on a little bit about what you're going to be sharing while you're touching on the business subject? Because I know that's our subject next week.
Yeah. So next week, I know we're in the theme of beginnings, the new year. It's January. That's why I love that Grace touched on conception and creating a plan for yourself and your family when it comes to creating your family. So when it comes to the financial piece, I really wanted to touch on creating clarity around any type of financial debts that you want to clear for the year. I know the beginning of the year, a lot of times we look at, okay, come December of 2025, what do I want to clear out for myself, and what plans can we create to bring that to fruition? So I'm going to speak on alleviating debt next week on the call, and just have some testimonials from people in our community who have been able to create a plan and the types of practices that they use through their Purium business to alleviate that debt, whether it's credit card debt, medical debt, oh my gosh, mortgage debt, student loans, whatever that looks like for them, and how this opportunity has allowed them to create a plan. Because sometimes we come into this opportunity, we want to just create so much money, and we do deserve that. And we want all of that, but it's important for us to kind of start small and just build on that. And I think that, that's what I really want to focus on next week. So please invite your team or your friends, family, anybody that is wanting to create a plan for themselves financially, and how this opportunity can give them that boost to support their New Year's goals.
Amazing. And especially as we're creating a family, like you mentioned, financial burden can be a huge factor in making those decisions or affording the things that we really want for ourselves on that journey to becoming a parent, right? So this is really an opportunity that can help you not only nourish yourself, but also give you the financial ability to support yourself on this journey to becoming parents. And so I'm really grateful for this whole community and for everybody who shared here today. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and your passion, your wisdom, and also to our whole community here. Each and every one of you here is a part of the Million Mom Movement, or what we call the movement of many, because we want to include all of you into this mission. And if you're brand new here and this is the first time you're joining us, thank you so much for coming and being a guest here. And please reach back out to the person who invited you here or shared this replay with you, because they shared this with you because they really care about you and they want you to have these tools for yourself. And so we want to invite you into our community. And our big mission is that we are 1,000 people in 100 communities committing to spreading health, well-being, and an economic opportunity around organic superfood nutrition with at least 10 other families in our community. So that's really our bigger mission. That's how we're going to reach 1 million strong. And we need to reach more people faster. Right now, 2025, there's so many people looking for what we have. And so it's our job to really share our passion, be bold, get out there and share what we have. And so I want to encourage all of you to share the replay with those in your community that could get something out of this presentation. And I want to also invite all of you to like, follow, and share our different social media platforms. So if you're not yet plugged into our different areas, please come and like us on Facebook. That's where this went live today. So the replay is already up on that Facebook page right now. And then you can also join our Facebook community, Million Mom Movement Official. That's where the YouTube replay will be posted with any links that we've shared here today. And then, of course, follow us on Instagram. Please use our hashtags and tag us on your stories and posts so that we can repost you and feature you as part of our community. If you're going to have us try to repost you in our feed, please don't use your gift card code or anything that links back to you. We really try to keep it clean in that way. So thank you for taking that precaution as you're tagging us or wanting to be reposted. And then also subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have nearly 300 replays now of so many incredible topics. And one of the tips that I'll say is that you can Google Million Mom Movement and any keyword of your choice, and most likely one of our YouTube replays will pop up in your feed. So thank you all so much for joining us here today. Thank you, Grace, for hosting, for the amazing presentation. And I'm going to go ahead and stop our recording. And thank you all so much for